And welcome back to another episode of Locked On Chiefs. This is also a crossover episode brought to you today by PrizePicks. He is David Drogemeyer from the Los Angeles Chargers Locked On Chargers podcast, and we're going to be talking about this huge crossover game on Amazon Prime, the first game on Amazon Prime. And this is going to be a huge matchup for both teams. Welcome back to another episode. Thank you for making us your first listen. If you want to make another second listen, go check out the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm sure they would appreciate it. A lot of great information over there getting ready for this game. Crossover Thursday is presented by our friends at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is so much fun and it's easy to play. No competing with other players, just you versus the projections available. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. It can literally take less than 60 seconds to enter. It's that easy. We love PrizePicks, and we know you will too. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit, match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com, promo code Locked On. David, I cannot wait for this game. I'm actually going to be there in person to see this up close and personal.
Hashtag humble brag.
Yeah, right. This is going to be a fantastic game. I have been looking forward to this matchup since it was announced that they were going to be on Amazon Prime. Just because it's a Thursday night football, it's nationally televised, and I think it's going to be one of the best games of the weekend.
There's no question about it. I think you look at these two teams here, the Chargers and the Chiefs. I think they're two of the top teams in the AFC, if not the entire NFL. I think you look at these rosters, they're just stacked on both sides of the ball. Two premier quarterbacks in Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. And the Chargers' new revamped defense, and the Chiefs trying to still tell everybody, hey, we might be without Tyreek Hill, but we're still as dominant as ever.
Yeah, and I think that surprised a lot of people this past week with that score. But let's go ahead and jump in really quick into the top stories for each team. I'll let you go ahead and start first.
Yeah, so the top stories here for the Chargers, unfortunately, it has to do with the injuries that the Chargers are dealing with. In particular, the all-world wide receiver, Keenan Allen, Mr. Consistent, Mr. Third Down, Mr. First Down, whatever you want to call him. He's truly one of the best receivers in the league. And unfortunately, he went down with a hamstring injury early on in that Raiders game, and the Chargers had to adjust and try to pick up the slack. Obviously, that's not something you can do with just one player. That's going to be a collective effort to try to replace that production. But being without Keenan Allen in Arrowhead against the Chiefs is one of the least ideal situations that you want for the Chargers.
Yeah, no, and absolutely, it's a huge problem for the Chargers. That's one of their biggest weapons. It's one of the guys that can help them move the ball. When you look at Kansas City, it's the same thing, though. You start talking about injuries, and Kansas City, they did pretty well in the preseason. They didn't really deal with any preseason injuries or big preseason injuries. They lost Blake Bell to IR. I mean, that's not a huge injury. It's a loss of a tight end for a couple of weeks, but it looked like they were doing pretty well with the 3 they had last weekend. So I think on Sunday, they'll be okay. But then you look at what happened with Trent McDuffie. And yeah, I know he's a rookie. I know he is, a guy that's going to be learning the system. And don't get me wrong, AJ Green is not, Keenan Allen. AJ Green's not Mike Williams. I get that.
Yeah.
But Trent McDuffie looked really good on Sunday before he went down with an injury. And that's going to be a huge loss for Kansas City. They're going to have to play with a rookie corner in his place. And right now, I'm not sure if it's going to be Jalen Watson or if it's going to be Williams. They're not saying, and I think that it could be either guy. I think both of them give them different looks, and Williams is a guy that I think has a better opportunity to match up with Williams just because of size. So that's going to be something to watch.
Yeah, no, Trent McDuffie was a guy coming into the draft this year that we were pretty high on here at Locked On Chargers. Me and Daniel Wade, a guy that was really, really feisty, has really good ball skills. He's a little bit of the undersized corner, but that did not stop him or prevent him from being one of the premier corners in the draft. I mean, just really loved the way he played the game. And I was a little upset that he got drafted to the Chiefs because that was a player I didn't really want to see on a regular basis. But unfortunately, hey, you don't want to see anybody go down. And you really, when we're talking about a matchup of this caliber, you want the Chiefs at their best. I want the Chiefs at their best. I want to beat the Chiefs at their best. I don't want them to be under. And unfortunately, both of these teams are missing key players. So, this is the NFL. You're going to have to adjust. Unfortunately, injuries are a part of the game. And, another injury that is kind of affecting this game on whether he will play, that is one of the Chargers' big offseason additions. That is cornerback J.C. Jackson. Chargers signed J.C. Jackson to a massive $82.5 million contract this offseason. This is a guy that was brought in to be Brandon Staley's number one corner, a guy that was going to erase a number one wide receiver, a guy that was going to travel with him. And he missed the game against the Raiders. He did work out before the game, but ultimately the decision was made to sit him out. And I think a large part of that was so that they could get him ready to play this game on Thursday night against the Chiefs. No disrespect to the Raiders, but the Chiefs are a superior team. I think we can say that with some pretty good confidence. And you really want to be firing on all cylinders and have all of your primary defensive weapons for this game. Just because they don't have Tyreek Hill doesn't mean that they can't be explosive and creative on offense, because they still got Andy Reid. And so Andy Reid is one of the most creative play callers out there. And so to have J.C. Jackson, which I do feel like the Chargers will have J.C. Jackson, the coaches and the Chargers organization is saying it's 50-50, but I think it's more like 75-25 that he's going to play. Like I said, I felt like they held him out for a reason. They understand how important this matchup is against the Chiefs on Thursday night on Amazon Prime.
It's huge. This game has huge implications down the line into the playoffs. And, part of my issue with that, and you talk about a guy like J.C. Jackson, who you're right is one of the biggest signings in the NFL this offseason. And whether or not he plays is going to be a big deal for this Chiefs team with all the weapons they have. That would obviously be a great thing for them to have. I agree with you. I don't think that the Raiders are on par with the Chiefs, but what I will say is they have a better number one receiver than Kansas City has. Devontae Adams is probably the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah,
easily top three.
No argument from me.
Yeah, but obviously the rest of the weapons just aren't there. That's not the same caliber for the rest of it. And Kansas City went 4 deep when it came to wide receiver this past weekend, and they threw to their fifth guy that they had on the field. So we will see how they use it. Now, the key to me, though, in this game is because of what I expect to happen, one of the bigger injuries that really could affect this game is Harrison Butker got hurt in the opening game, and it is not likely he is playing this week. He did come in and kick a 54-yard field goal with just one step and kick, which I thought was really interesting. I haven't seen that in the NFL until this year. And then Justin Reed took his place on kickoffs and did well on kickoffs, but you don't want your starting safety covering kicks, one. And you also don't want to put him in a pressure situation where you're expecting him to make a game-winning field goal or a tying field goal or make an extra point like what happened in the
What's
Bengals
wrong with Harrison Butker? What's the injury?
Rolled his ankle. Hit the turf wrong in Arizona, and I mean his ankle just rolled over to where it was basically sideways, and it was bad. Didn't break it, doesn't look like, but it's swollen up pretty bad. So especially on a short week, it's going to be a big question whether or not he can go. They did sign a guy to their practice squad, so maybe they call him up and let him do the kicking, and that would be helpful. But you would still want a guy who, in my mind, should be a Pro Bowl kicker if it wasn't for a guy like Justin Tucker in the AFC.
Yeah, obviously Harrison Butker is a guy that we've seen make a lot of big kicks, especially against the Chargers. So for him not to be out there for the Chargers for this game is definitely going to be important. But hey, we're going to get into some of these key matchups here in segment number 2. But first, I got to tell you about Turo. Turo is the world's largest car sharing marketplace. With Turo, you can book any car you want, wherever you want it, from a community of local hosts. Browse a huge selection of vehicles for just about any occasion or budget across the U.S., Canada, and the U.K. Book a spacious SUV or minivan for a family road trip. Get a classic or luxury car for a special event, birthday, or holiday. Find affordable economy cars if you're on a budget and just need to get from A to B. Test drive that new electric vehicle you've had your eye on, or see if it fits in your everyday life. Many Turo hosts can even deliver the car right to you. Every trip is backed by liability insurance. Terms and conditions and exclusions apply. Ditch boring rental cars and find your drive at Turo.com.
So many things to talk about when it comes to matchups in this game. And really the biggest one to me, and I'm just going to go ahead and jump in, biggest one to me is got to be the defensive ends, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack against the Chiefs offensive tackles. And I say that because if you give Patrick Mahomes 3 seconds to throw the ball, I think he's going to eat. I don't care what defense they're playing against. I think he'll figure it out, and I think he's going to eat. But if he is having to throw it in less than 3 seconds, then that's a problem. And really, if you look at the Cardinals game, he was taking 4 to 5 seconds on a lot of plays. And
they got no pressure at all.
Right. And I don't expect that that's going to continue to be the case with Andrew Wiley and Orlando Brown being the tackles. I think Bosa is a great player. Mac's a great player. The question on both is whether or not they can stay healthy long-term. But in this specific matchup, if they stay healthy throughout the game, that's going to be a problem. And it's going to be a huge test for Orlando Brown, who is looking to get paid in the offseason. So this would be a great scenario for him if he can go and I'm not going to say shut down Bosa, but do very well against Bosa.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's one of the bigger matchups of this game. Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, who combined for 4.5 sacks against the Raiders. And Colton Miller, the left tackle, he's a quality player in this league. He's definitely their best offensive lineman, and Mack pretty much just destroyed him all game long. If there are question marks about Khalil Mack not having any gas left in the tank, well, I think he answered those questions pretty emphatically. If he's able to stay healthy, he is an absolute force, not only as a pass rusher, but as a run stopper as well. And I think against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, it's very important to keep your contain, keep him in the pocket. You cannot allow Patrick Mahomes to get out of the pocket. He is deceptively quick. He's not super fast, but he can get out of the pocket and extend plays and keep his eyes downfield to target those wide receivers or run for a first down. So you have to be very disciplined with him. And I think that's definitely going to be part of the approach for Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. I think for me, one of the biggest key matchups in this game is when you look at this Chiefs offense, there's only one guy out there that scares the living daylights out of you. And of course, his name is Travis Kelce. So Travis Kelce, the all-world tight end, he's going to match up against the all-world safety of the Chargers, Derwin James. And Derwin James is completely healthy. There's no lingering issues. And I think last year, I think we saw what the impact of Derwin James is. When Derwin James is on the field covering Kelce doesn't do very much. When Derwin James gets hurt and goes out of the game, Kelce goes absolutely crazy and basically wins the game for the Chiefs. So being able to make sure that you harass Travis Kelce at the line of scrimmage, do not allow him to get free releases. If you do, he's going to kill you. And having Derwin James shadowing him, that's going to be a matchup that if you're just a football fan, regardless of if you're a Chargers or Chiefs fan, these are two of the premier players in the league, and they're going to be going to battle on Thursday night.
Yeah, and I like what you said about the Patrick Mahomes and keeping him in the pocket. It isn't necessarily because of his feet and running the ball. It's exactly what you said. It's extending plays, and that's exactly what he did against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So if he gets a chance to do that in this game, it's going to be, I think, very intriguing to see what the results are going to be. Obviously, a much better defense than I think Kansas City faced against Arizona. Now, when you flip it over to the other side of the ball for me, and I hate going with the easy one, but I have to say that it's always going to be Chris Jones against your interior. And I say that because he is so disruptive. He can do so many things. And even the best QBs in the NFL just lose themselves and cannot get out of their own way when they have interior pressure that gets in their face on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And Lindsey is a great center. So I'm not saying you don't have a great center. What I am saying is, right. What I am saying is that's going to be a fantastic matchup to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Whoever wins that matchup on a regular basis is going to have a big say in how this game is decided.
Absolutely, because I mean, I have a lot of respect for Frank Clark and for the rookie George Karlaftis, but if we're talking about who brings the most pressure, who is the biggest menace on the Chiefs, it's obviously stone cold Chris Jones. Like that dude is a menace, and just because he doesn't get to the quarterback doesn't mean he can't impact the play, because I've seen him bat down numerous passes pretty much every single game. So he's a guy that definitely needs to be controlled. Corey Linsley, the rookie, Zion Johnson, and the left guard Matt Fowler are going to have their hands full with Chris Jones. No question. That's definitely someone they have to try to make sure does not wreck the game for the Chargers offense. I think my next one here is a guy who always seems to get up for these Chargers Chiefs games and had a lot of big moments over the last several years. I'm talking about Mike Williams. Mike Williams against the Chiefs,
Yep.
he's had 34 catches, 564 yards, and 5 touchdowns in his career against the Chiefs. That's good for 16.5 yards per catch. He gets up for these games. He is definitely looking at the schedule and saying, yes,
Let's
here we
go.
go.
Yeah, let's go, baby.
Go
Come
time.
on.
It's time.
Yep.
It's time. And then, of course, to hear that Trent McDuffie is not going to be out there, it's going to be an absolutely massive test. He didn't get targeted a lot against the Raiders. He really only had 1 catch. I expect that to be a gross difference in this game against the Chiefs. He's the number 1 guy now, right? So he's going to be targeted a lot. And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for Mike Williams to have some success against a very young and kind of inexperienced secondary for the Chiefs.
Oh, it's hugely inexperienced, and I think that's a huge problem going into this game. I mean, and you're talking about without Trent McDuffie, who was a rookie to begin with. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you have 3 rookies as CBs that are on this roster that are probably going to play in this game. So, that's going to be a big test, and I'm really looking forward to it because you're right. You start looking at that matchup. If he has a day, it is going to be very hard to slow that offense down because you know that they're going to have other guys that they can get involved. And they have, the running game in Austin Eckler. So it's going to be something to watch. I absolutely just cannot wait for this game. I'm looking forward to being there in person. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let me tell you about our friends over at BetOnline, though. If you haven't checked these guys out, I do not know what you're waiting for. BetOnline.net is your number 1 source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports info this season. Find all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, and podcasts, including this year's opening week games and second week games. Obviously, first game on Amazon Prime, going to be huge. BetOnline is also your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MLB, which is still going on, MMA, boxing, and yes, even golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, I will go ahead and give you the option. Do you want me to go first with my prediction, or do you want to, sir?
Well, you're the host here. It's the host city, so I'm gonna go ahead and let you take it away.
Yeah, man, I really wish that I had another couple of days to try to get into film and really try to get into what I think is going to happen in this game and really, and see who was going to be playing, because that's the other thing is like Kansas City has some injuries. The Chargers have some injuries. Who's going to be available, who's not. We talked about Butker earlier, and I know that it's just a kicker, but if you get into a late game situation and it's a huge pressure situation, even if they bring up the guy from the practice squad, that's going to be something that you're going to be putting him into a huge pressure cooker to try to go out and win the game, tie the game, score points, whatever.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a game that could have huge playoff implications down the line. So that's not a good situation to be in. I still like Kansas City's chances. They're playing at Arrowhead. It's an opening night game. They're going to be in front of their home stadium. You know that the crowd is going to be raucous and they're going to be loud. And I do think that they showed last week that they can live without Tyreek Hill. This offense has a lot of weapons. And I do think the other thing that really is going to play into this is that I think Andy Reid planned for this game, seeing the schedule, seeing when they were playing it. I think he put a lot of stuff in training camp for this game specifically that he hasn't brought out yet. So I think the Chargers are going to be in for a little bit of a couple of trick plays. And I also think that if you look at the wide receivers and the tight ends that Kansas City uses, yes, the Chargers have a fantastic defense. The question is can they cover 5 guys on a regular basis? Because Kansas City proved last week anybody they put on the field could be getting the ball and being somebody that can hurt you. If they continue that this week, I think they win. I'm looking at this probably being a pretty high-scoring game. I'd say 34-31 Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, clearly I'm going to disagree with you there.
No, I understand.
The Chargers, as far as the pass rush is concerned, I think they're going to give the Kansas City O-line a lot of problems. It's not just Mack and Bosa. I think Sebastian Joseph Day is a guy who's going to be able to push the pocket in the middle. Also, he's going to be massive at stopping the run. So I don't think this isn't the same Chargers run defense as it was last year, giving up 140 rushing yards a game. They went out there in the offseason and they specifically brought in guys that have track records of success stopping the run. That's Austin Johnson, Sebastian Joseph Day, Khalil Mack. Those guys stop the run. That's what they do. in addition to being an incredible pass rusher in the case of Khalil Mack. But the secondary too. I mean, I think an underrated guy that the Chargers brought in is Bryce Callahan, a guy who literally locked Hunter Renfrow up. Hunter Renfrow caught 100 balls and was a 1,000-yard receiver last year. He did nothing in the game against the Chargers, and a large part of that was because of Bryce Callahan. Insert Bryce Callahan, get rid of Chris Harris Jr., and you see an exponential upgrade there. Also, you have a healthy Derwin James. If Derwin James wasn't out there, I'd say that this wouldn't be close because Travis Kelce is a monster, and there's not many other people that I feel comfortable being able to cover him one-on-one. He's just, he's that good of a player. But on offense, the Chiefs are going to have a lot of things to have to worry about. Austin Eckler as a runner and as a pass catcher. I think Gerald Everett, the new tight end, is the guy that they're going to get involved in the game plan a lot. A guy who's a fantastic yards after catch type of dude, a very physical guy, also a great blocker to be able to help out on the edges if they feel like they need to help out their right tackle in particular. But I feel like the Chargers are going to be able to stop the run. I feel like they have enough to be able to protect against the boundaries because that's what the Chiefs like to do. They like to get the ball out quickly. They like to attack the edges, and they like to attack with Travis Kelce over the middle. So, they're going to have to get really creative, but I feel like this is going to be a close game. There's no question. Anytime the Chargers and Chiefs get together, it's a physical game. It's a close game. And most importantly, it's an extremely exciting football game, and that's why I can't wait to watch this game. I think the Chargers actually win this game. They go up 2-0 in the AFC West division. It's going to be really close. I think it's going to be 28-24. Chargers leave Arrowhead with a victory.
Yeah, and that is going to definitely put a damper on the spirits of their crowd if that happens. Again, I don't see it happening, but I completely understand where you're coming from. This is going to be a fantastic matchup. This is like when this schedule came out, this was a game I circled. Just being excited to be able to watch and then being able to be there in person and see it live in Arrowhead is going to be a lot of fun. You look at what this is going to mean, though. You start talking about the Chargers going 2-0. Whoever wins this game is going to be 2-0, and that's going to be huge in this division. Mainly because you saw a game on Sunday night where Denver didn't look like a team that we thought maybe they could be.
Yeah, rookie head coach there, right? Making a big rookie head coach mistake. Well, how do you let that much time run off the clock? Like, what are you doing?
Even without that decision, to be in that situation against Seattle, that shouldn't have been
fumbling twice on the goal line. Yeah,
shouldn't have been that close. So you look at that, and then you look at the Raiders. The question is, can the Raiders be better? But you still look at the Chargers and the Chiefs as the two teams that are probably the class of this division.
Yeah.
And it's going to go down to week 18. Mm-hmm. So this is a huge game. Whoever wins this is going to have a leg up for most of the season, and we'll see how the division shakes out. That's going to be it for us today. Thank you all for listening. I am Chris Clark. You can find me over at Chiefs Corner. He's David Drogemeyer. You can find him over at Dro Talk SD on the Locked On Chargers podcast, and you can find me on Locked On Chiefs. And enjoy this game. Let us know what you think about it. Go like, sub, and subscribe to our YouTube channels. We would really appreciate it. And we will talk to you after the game.